Hey everybody, it is Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today I'm going to show you step by step in acrylic paint on canvas how you can paint these gorgeous, glowing, loose, expressive Christmas trees. They're easier than you think, funner than you think. On the mic is my husband, John.
Hello.
He's going to help me do this. Look, I got the sound today. He's going to help me do this by making sure the cameras are pointing at what I'm talking about. So we've got zoom in, we've got several angles. Make sure that you can see the palette. My head won't be in front of it the whole time. If you've never painted with us before, be sure and say hi. We have a very friendly art family here, and you will be welcomed in, and we are thrilled to have you join us. Be sure, and if you're wanting to ask a question, put those all in caps so the moderators can either find the video that I made that already answered that question, but you might get your question asked live in the show because I do have the live chat here, and I want to say hi to Becky Ransom and Terry Russell and Deborah Evans and Grace Porter and Lindsay. Look at that's how live we are. I can see you right there getting ready to paint. This is going to be fun. This is going to be easier than you think. We're going to break it down step by step. 7 to 14 days after this video is released, we will have tried to write out written instructions that match the steps in the video so that if you need that layered learning, and this is a super important one for you to do, that one will be coming out really soon. We try to get those out as soon as we can, but you know, they gotta be like written, and they're kind of a thing. Are you ready to jump into materials, John?
Sure.
I'm ready to sip my invisible coffee.
Yeah, it's your transparent cup.
My transparent coffee cup.
It's like Monty Python would be so proud of us.
Monty Python would. On today's canvas, I'm just doing a 9x12. This is a nice size because it's not too big and won't be overwhelming. You can always size this particular painting up very easily to a big canvas or a small canvas. The paint on the palette is phthalo green, burnt sienna, cad yellow medium, cad red medium, quinacridone magenta. Up here in the corner is some dioxazine purple, ultra marine blue, phthalo blue, Mars black, and in the center, pleasantly sitting there waiting to be used for tinting and toning and shading and all those things, is the titanium white. What's really tinting? It's only toning if it's gray. Shading is with the black. But I got a whole video about that if those terms are interesting to you, so that they seem very familiar. And you can be like, well, not quite, Sherpa. Not quite. All right, shall we throw up step one? Step one, like many of these paintings this year, is going to begin really easy because we're going to paint the whole background this ultramarine blue. Now, I have the wish here that you have the sound of music in your life, and I mean that literally and figuratively. I just hope that the sounds that you hear in the spaces around you and the people around you are music to your ears. You deserve that. We all deserve that. Coming up on the holidays, that's an extra big wish, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to use a 1/4 inch angle brush here, Princeton Catalyst, to paint this whole thing blue. Guess what? You can use any brush you have. And it doesn't need to be perfectly blue because we have several layers on this painting. Even my bird will disappear and become a wish or intention for you guys later. I'm not saying I'm like as good as Banksy, but I'm saying there is a bit of the Banksy when I like do these little doodles on the canvas. I feel that's a punching a little bit above my weight class, but you know what I mean.
It's more of a tip of the hat. It's like, hey,
it's a tip of the hat, yeah.
I respect you, fellow traveler.
I respect Banksy very much, whoever that is, or they are.
What could be an AI that has incorporated?
It could be a group of people. It could be a man. It could be a woman. It could be an AI. We don't know, and that's half the fun. Not knowing is half the battle.
I like pondering on wildly speculative origins.
I do too. It's very fun to me. If you don't know, Banksy is a street artist that does artwork that pops up all over the world. The art is fairly valuable. People have been known to take down their wall.
It's really good.
And it's very good.
It's very
and
good.
Right now, Banksy is in the Ukraine putting up installations on broken walls in areas that have been attacked. So it's really beautiful to see that new work coming up. And it's been a minute, so very glad to see the new work. Sometimes you learn a little bit about other art things here. I'm just smearing it out. Notice it's not. Oh, Liz Hodge says, we're so worth waiting for. You know, it's really funny, Liz, because like right before my mom and John Little, they're getting ready to hit their next luxurious, amazing trip to really hobbiting. They're going to the hobbit holes. New Zealand and Australia, so both. And they were saying, we're never late, which of course they always are. They were teasing us so much. I'm just wanting to get enough paint on here that the canvas is toned. In other words, just kind of stained blue, and that the whole surface is painted into the little pops so that it takes the paint beautifully. But notice it's streaky. You're under no pressure on this first layer. The first layer is a no pressure layer.
Ready layer 1.
Ready layer 1. Now, guess what I have for you guys that watch 3 times a week at 1 o'clock? I have a place to hang the hairdryer, so I don't have to go reaching all over the room for it. John put in a little thing, a hook, and a carabiner for me, and I'm so excited. So I don't know what's going on good in your life, but right now my life is being brought to joy by a carabiner.
Magnetism.
Oh, is it a It is a magnet.
It's a magnet hook.
Oh, all right, I'm going to try this.
Physics. Ah, the wonders of the natural universe. I believe that magnetism is the evidence to all of science that the universe is broken. We can see it because it's a magic trick with our eyes. We can see the fields not working. It's cool. Anyway, I like magnetism. It's one of those super fun things where you can see a force of nature kind of play. And I think that's just neato burrito. I'll tell you one thing. Oh, and about neato burrito things, don't heat your canvas. Because that's another physics thing. It doesn't respond well to heat. Heat's not the friend of polymers, which is what make acrylic paint. So, but do thoroughly dry. Lots of air helps speed up that curing process.
Woo! Things John knows to talk about. Well, the magnet failed. Go fix the magnet. Irene is back from Christchurch, New Zealand. So hi, Irene. And Missy's here. Missy watches all the videos, but this is the first time Missy's been able to jump into a live. So welcome to your first live. I hope it's exciting. And I see that Mary Youngblood just popped in the house.
It's a gentle hooking.
It's a gentle. I don't feel like I hooked it that strong, but clearly I was brutal with it.
You're not, it's just that it is not as a...
This is a good time to transfer the traceable on if you want to do that right now. That's an okay thing to do. I'm going to use a little chalk to sort of talk about scale before I start putting in the sky. Yeah. No, didn't we already step? No. Okay. So make sure your canvas is dry before you try to do the traceable. I just want to make sure that I have good scale. So sometimes when I'm designing, my trees are fat, but when I'm painting live, my trees get skinny. They just lose weight, and I really want to keep them kind of fat. So I want to make sure that I've got good positioning on that. So I'm going to take a chalk, and I'm going to just make sure that I've got a nice fat triangle. Come off a little bit this way. And this little triangle just sort of lets me know how much of my surface I want this tree to take up. And then this tree has a little friend tree over here. John is bumping me a little bit.
Just testing.
But it's okay, it's chalk, so not too. So let's hope this time we keep our trees fairly fat. All right, so I want a triangle that's taking up a little bit past half the canvas, and then I want a little triangle there. You can use your traceable. And the other reason to sort of block out where I'm going to have these things is just so that I'm not painting areas that I'm going to just put a big tree over in 2 seconds later. I want to put my heart into like my best cloud ever right here. Right. That would be very sad because it's going to go away. Can I get a mute real quick?
So I fixed it better. It was loosely magnetized.
Loosely magnetized?
But now I fixed it. It's firmly affixed.
Let's take a deep breath and calm down and know that we are together. We're painting with our art friends. And in this small moment in time, everything is okay. Before, who knows? After, who knows? But right now, in this moment, we're okay.
That's good. I needed that too.
Yeah, John's getting very nervous about the move as more pieces come into play and more things are happening. And we're getting so much help. My very favorite friend helper is Fergal.
Yeah, it's true.
Make some Fergal.
We have a lot of new friends that have very Irish names, and so I was very embarrassed when I met him because I had to ask him to spell his name because I just, between his accent and how he was my first time hearing it, and he was real nice about it. He was, oh no, it's a very Irish name.
It's brilliant. I love it. It's brilliant. We're going to just stalk Fergal. Don't worry, we're not going to stalk you, Fergal. It's okay. Just a little bit. We might have you over for some tea. Just a little bit. Okay. Now let's start our sky. I am using a big chunky round brush, and I like these for doing fluffy cloudy skies because they blend in here really nicely and they kind of make my work easier. This is a number 18 Raphael Artini. If you had the why can I not remember the name of the brush right now? I recommend it. No, it's the stone.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
If you have any of the previous brushes that I recommended in the Hog, they're number 12s.
Okay.
In the Cambridge, it's a number 12. And the other one, whose name escapes me, but will come back to me, it's a number 12. But on this one, it's a number 18. And that's because brush lines don't have uniform numbering. So what you want is something in this scale range.
I can't have no judgment here because I only have
I'm going to load up with some phthalo blue and some burnt sienna together.
I'm only good for planning 24 hours in advance or remembering what happened 24 hours ago.
That's it? That's all you got?
That's it.
I'm going to come over here and now a little bit past my triangle, I'm going to bring this blue and I'm kind of scumbling it in at first, right? And we'll let that set for a minute. Sometimes paint, and I don't know if I've talked about this before, but sometimes acrylic paint has, even within the wet range, amount of time that it sort of sets that you can kind of come back and work it again, where it's still blendable, but it's not too wet. I'm just using this brush to really work these dark corners. This is top of the sky into the canvas. And I'll go ahead and soft blend here at the edge. See how I can lighten my brush, kind of turn the handle to the side, work from the mid belly to the toe, and kind of feather out over my blue, creating a little softness there. How nice is that? And look, I can then sort of smooth out the brushwork. If you can't get the brushwork smoothed out with the same brush, what you can do is switch to a blending brush, like a round mop, and softly blend it. I recommend synthetic over goat, but you know, you do you. Okay, I'm going to come here and get into my brown and blue, and I'm going to smidge in a little bit of green, because I'm just tricky like that, and some white.
Is smidge imperial or metric?
Smidge is a universal system of measurements used across the universe.
I see.
That's what the aliens told me.
Exoplanetary measurement system.
Yes. When they brought me on the spaceship to teach them how to paint, they were like, we picked you because you understand that smidge is a universal unit of measurement. I don't actually think don't unsubscribe. I don't think I've been abducted by aliens.
But we all do.
I mean, I might be an alien visitor. It could happen. They could happen. Alien visitors could show up. Now this is working right now. I'm using just the toe of the brush and I'm kind of building in an irregular little cloud bank here. I'll come here while this is all still wet and kind of push in. See how I'm pushing the brush around? A bit of a lighter little cloud bank. Sometimes I get a little more brown into it. It's nice. You want to be up and down. You don't want to make little circles. You're not making cloudy puffs. A lot of people are observing that my hook is a great invention here for me. Just wiggling it in, right? Just getting that in. I can come back with little more areas of more white, which is sort of fun. If you want to get a little yellow and a little brown, you can kind of mix that in there too. It's very powerful. Look at me moving the brush around. These are very loose clouds. Let's get a little more brown into that mix. Come back over, pushing this down. A little more brown in there. Got a little weight there. Let's bring some of that up. See, I'm just taking the brush up. Little curl kind of strokes like this. Sometimes I'm just up on the toe. And what I'm trying to do is make these irregular, weird little shapes. That's the goal.
Ooh, a good question from Rivas.
I have a good answer.
Do you need to be using the exact same brushes that you're using?
So exact same. No, here's the super truth about this. When you're very experienced, you can do almost any technique with nearly any brush. When you're really new, you want to have something close to your teacher, but there's lots of choices. Like this is kind of a pricey brush. Maybe, depending on your budget. When you've been painting for a while, it won't feel so, but it might seem so. But you could do a Simply Simmons hog bristle number 12 round and be getting very similar effects to mine. It might be hard for you to use this brush and get the same effect to mine. I could do it. It might be harder for you to do it. But if you painted with me a few hundred paintings, you'd be like, it doesn't matter. I just grab whatever's in my brush bucket, go.
Can I throw a little thing on top of that quick?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the between the lines things here is brushes in general, when going with a quality manufacturer, as well as paint, are places where when you increase the price, oftentimes the quality does follow that increase.
Yeah.
So when you buy a brush that's 3 to 4 times the cost of an entry-level brush, there is a reason. And oftentimes this is why.
I'm just bringing that down a little bit. And the thing to know is like the brush manufacturer I used to work with would say the most expensive brush is $1 brush. And I never wanted to break it to him. I'm like, I can make $1 brush work, but I have tricks. Like I pre-wash it, I trim out extra hairs, I will reshape it with scissors. I can make that brush work because I essentially know what I need out of my brush. Let me keep putting this up here. You notice that I added more white as I'm working through here?
You're just creating sort of a generally softy, cloudy blend?
Generally softy, cloudy blend, and I'm kind of scumbling it in. And I'm going a little bit over my chalk because you know what, guys? The little branches, right? They're going to be going into the sky. You can always get your dark color mix again if you need to, just by taking some of your brown.
But this is not like, you're not trying to make it opaque. You're trying to make it like kind of.
Yes, we are making floofs. You are floofing. Floofing all the way. You can come up here with more blue. You can just keep working it in. Want to come over here and...
Seeds has another question about brushes.
Okay. I have so many answers about brushes and videos about brushes. I have everything a beginner needs to know about brushes video. Okay. It is like, I think it's pretty much everything. I might redo it someday, but I think we're good right now.
I love Seeds' question. I'm going to take some literary...
That's okay, because I'm about to step it, so it's a good time to answer a question. But I'm not going to necessarily dry it. I'm just going to step it when I get here. So you can ask. I'm just adding more blue to my brush and deepening up the upper sky here.
So if you found yourself shopping online for brushes.
Online?
Online. And you come to the hog section of brushes, and you're looking at them, and you think you find a hog brush that you like. But wait. It says this is an oil hog brush.
Yeah, oil hog brushes will work with acrylic. So the reason acrylic artists don't use hog in general as a community is because when it gets wet, it gets soft. But if you paint with me, you know to constantly wring the water out of your brush using your towel in your lap, right? You've got your little handy dandy towel. And whenever you rinse out your brush, you take it and you squeeze the water out of it, and it will keep the brush from getting too soft.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Sometimes they'll say that a brush is for I think at one point my old brush manufacturer was trying to say that my brush is for watercolor. And I'm like, in that the watercolor won't explode or, turn into a dangerous vapor, I guess they are, but they're not made for that. And that's the thing you got to watch, in the labeling and manufacturing of all that is sometimes those labels are not accurate to what the brush is really designed for. But very often hog will travel quite well through acrylic and oil. Hair, I switched to blending only on the acrylics.
Yeah.
All right. So see, I just did it. I just did it right there. I just wrung all of the water out. So it's damp, but it's not soaked.
Same step?
No, new step.
New step. We're on the third step.
I'm going to sip my coffee because, dang, I need it.
This step often eludes Monty Python fans.
So true. Still same brush. Now this time I'm going to take my brown over to my yellow. Kind of mix a little brown and yellow. Might get a bit of white into it. And I'm going to add this wonderful bank. Just a nice little bank. If I pull this down. Now here's a thing that you can do that you might not do. You can mix a half tone between the brown, blue, and green. See what I'm doing? To make a nice transition too.
I do.
So if you feel like your transition from here to here is too heavy, you take the color that you were doing here and mix it in, making a half tone. In other words, a half and half mix of it between the two. Wiggly, wiggly, wiggly.
Yeah.
Now come right into this little tree here because we want the branches to... I just don't want to have a skinny tree. Don't let me make a skinny tree, guys.
Right.
The trees don't need to lose any weight. That'll be sometimes the difference between just sitting and watching TV and designing on an iPad and then coming into paint, is that on my iPad I can look at it and be like, you're too skinny, and I just change it, and I'm just, you know, but when I'm painting live, that's very different. And sometimes that can impact my results. I can add more white, and you can see I'm sort of just doing little flicks and half circles, and I'm trying to create rises and falls in the cloud bank. Just working this down here. Fun times. Make sure you go into your traceable or into your branches so that you can layer them over well.
I can ask you another question here.
You can ask me any of the questions that you want. I love to answer the questions. I'm still just working this over on the right-hand side here.
Just like in before when we're talking about brushes for oil and acrylic. It's okay to use an oil brush to paint with acrylic, but once you've done that, can they go back and forth? Can you like...
No.
A
brand new brush that might be labeled for oil but has never been used in oil, you can use in your acrylic painting. You cannot use a brush that you've used in oil in your acrylic painting.
And that's because
it won't explode. It just will mess up the painting.
The chemistry gets weird.
Yeah, but not like a danger to your life. I say that because sometimes you have to think about safety stuff with art supplies.
There are reactions that can happen, but
I'm going to add a little bit of a little floof here because I just feel it.
Not generally in paint.
I added a little interesting floof there, and I was just feeling that floof, so that's where that came from. That floof was coming from somewhere.
That floof needed to be floofed in?
It needed to be floofed in. Now I'm going to add a little bit of my yellow into this mix, and then some white. It's not yellow, but it is, in the space, it might feel like a yellow.
Now, Barry says, looks like you're hardly using any pressure. Are you just like feathering?
I am not pressing into the canvas. One of the reasons that I like to paint online on canvas is because if you look here, you can see the pressure I'm applying. So if I was pushing in heavy, you could see that weight. Sometimes on canvas boards, it's hard for you guys to see how much pressure I'm applying. But this angle here and the bounce of the drum gives you guys some clues.
The drum.
Yeah, the drum. Okay, coming through here. Let's add some nice little bright lights. Oh, I have to be playful sometimes. Because I get into the paint and it's so fun that I want to have fun.
Now, Holly was just asking here.
Just add a little peek of it here.
She said, you've said it before, you use Procreate when you're doing digital stuff?
No, not Procreate. You should use Procreate. I use Sketchbook, which my kids have explained to me and shown me and gone over and over again why it's not as intuitive as a tool. And then, of course, many digital experts also feel that way. But I learned where all the buttons were on Sketchbook, so I'm comfortable with it, which is why I use it. I also really like Adobe Fresco, which I think is what they do now instead of Painter.
Huh.
Because I haven't seen Painter in our digital suite, so I don't.
Corel Painter, yeah.
Yeah. So I think the Fresco is that. And that does some good job of mimicking paint techniques. Just add a little more brown. I'm just trying to make sure that I got nice little clouds. And you can see because it's still wet, when I come in here and I can fluff in, I can create interesting banks. That's what you can do. You can make interesting banks. And you should make interesting banks.
Oh, there's a soapbox that I could hand you. You haven't seen this one in a while.
All right, now, but I'm going to do a big thing here. I'm going to take a little bit of my yellow over to this purple over to my yellow-brown mix. See this?
Uh-huh.
That's what we're doing. Not totally purple, but we're going to tone the yellow-brown over here with the purple. That's how we're going to get that down low purple cloud color. Okay, so what's my soapbox?
Okay, so in prehistoric YouTube time, there was this group that used to pour paint, and then they would add this additive to it.
I think they still do that.
They still do that.
Yeah.
And that additive causes weird reactions.
Are you asking about Floetrol or treadmill oil, the silicone treadmill oil?
Silicone treadmill oil.
Yeah, so here's what the paint chemists, the people who got the degree that lets them make the paint, have told me about that, is that a drop, because think about it, 1 drop of silicone oil lets your treadmill run for how many miles? And so, yes, it creates cells, but it may interfere with the long-term longevity of the painting. It may create underbinding. It's a new technique, right? And nobody thought to test treadmill oil in acrylic paint until artists started doing that. So now there's a lot of testing. I imagine at some point the ASTM and Golden and some different companies will come out with some definitive, we tested it, and here's what you need to know. But their recommendation is to not do it. It does not create a health hazard like using the torches on the paint will do, but it might impact the longevity. And there are other ways to create cells.
And I think,
I mean, like, it's not my practice, and the reason I don't recommend it is I'm not trying to throw any shade at paint pouring artists. It's just because that's what the paint companies recommended.
The ultimate concern is that it may impact the longevity of the final product.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. It's just longevity.
And just, sometimes that's hard to understand through some of the technical nature of it. But ultimately, that's what they're concerned, is that you might sell something that just falls apart in 5 years.
Yeah. They're not trying to, it's really interesting because, like, sometimes people are like, it's the big money paint companies trying to, like, hold us back from art materials. I'm like, big money paint companies. You haven't been to an art materials show, have you, sir? They're not big money. It's not big, like, making paint is expensive, and selling paint doesn't have huge profit margins, which is why they don't have big marketing campaigns and stuff. It's not big money. Golden for sure is not, when they don't recommend something, it's because they care about the artist. Senelier, same thing. Amsterdam, same thing. If they're not recommending it, it's because they're concerned for the artist, not because they're trying to sell you something. Let's call this a step.
And you can always find out more on the manufacturer's websites.
Always more on the manufacturer's websites.
Are we ready for the 4th step?
I don't know, because I'm thinking I need to come in further with my sky here.
All right.
I'm looking at that. Sometimes you got to look at your painting and be like, hey, did you get enough inside the lines? And then be like, no, I don't think I got enough inside the lines. Self. And then it'd be like, why don't you go further back in the lines so that you have branches? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do that because I want a fat tree. But I want them to have nice little branches that hang out. So I just kind of made the background color and made sure I kind of came inside there so that there's nice color layering things. Okay, now we're going to call a step. I'm going to dry it before we go on to the next one.
That sounds totally reasonable.
Lily Cleveland. Am I behind? Lily Cleveland, can you use brushes for acrylic and oil?
You're behind.
Huh?
That was what I asked.
But the chat won't forward for me anymore.
Is there a little arrow at the bottom?
No.
I'll think about that in a second. I'll check it out for you in a second. So while she's drying, thank you guys. It's awesome. We really appreciate you guys being here, and it's really nice to see. Oh, if you haven't had a chance, come in and join us in the chat. It's really awesome. Folks are in here having a good time, talking about painterly stuff, meeting other painterly people, and oftentimes being punny. Are you ready for your 4th step?
sip my coffee. Step 4. We're going to do more. What? Yeah, no, it's okay. I don't know what it is. That's fine. I'm going to keep using this brush just because I want to kind of keep the brush stroke feeling the same. And this part is pretty chill. I'm going to come under here with a little bit of black and maybe let's say some blue to start. Little black, little blue. And I'll come up under the trees some. This is just to begin the darkening of the base. Now, it's a little bit transparent for me, and that's because there's some water in my brush, and the blue is a bit transparent, and I'm glazing this in, and that is okay. I has a plan for that. And I'm going to come here and kind of half mix a little bit of this right there. So I'm taking that purple down into it. I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of that purple yellow into it here. Purple and yellow. Back into my blue and black. Just kind of working this through. I am a little bit paying attention to brush directionality, just some. It's not quite the cloud stroke because I'm trying to make a reflective ground. And that will be about brush stroke in a minute. So I don't want to go too against that, which is more of a horizontal brush stroke, but I've got to get this depth in. Now, to make this all work, I want to dry this before I come in with the next step.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to dry this before coming in with the next step. But this is that first darkening.
Getting the first layer of that underpainting, and you have to get it dry because as you come up in the layers, you're going to want them to kind of lighten as they come up in general. So in order for this to not, muddy up the next layer, it has to be kind of, there. So I don't think there she is.
Doop, doo, doo, doo.
Next step, you say?
Yeah, you can next step it. Now, the reason I broke up those steps is I just want you to make sure you've got this dark and dry before you do this next part. That's why I'm breaking that out for you. It's okay if it's a little bit streaky because this next layer is where we bring out the reflections. I do think for this part, like a square shaped brush might be better. So this is a number 18 Raphael Artini Hog. You could use probably this in this area just as well. I'm more concerned with the shape than anything else. Right? I want a brush that's going to give me that nice kind of reflecty spacey. So let's come over here with a little bit of purple and yellow and brown like we had from before. I want to wipe this out some. I don't want that much water in it. That is the big thing, is water management. Can you manage the water? And I'm going to just brush across a bit. See how I'm doing? Short strokes, brushing across. Get a little more yellow on here maybe. Come right into that. See how I did? Sort of little light implied reflections. And come into my purple here and get much darker with it. In this corner, I want it to be darker. Little short reflections. Maybe get a little blue, black on my brush. I haven't even rinsed, guys. And I'm just doing little short brush strokes across. I might come back into this mix here. This is my Phthalo Blue Burnt Sienna. A little bit of white, and I might come in and just, while it's still wet, kind of put in a little. This is a vertical line. It's very blended and soft. See how soft it is?
Yeah.
It's important that you keep it soft. I might come across here with a little counterbalance stroke to blend it in. Maybe a little brown and black comes here. These are dark, dark, dark. Come in with just a little bit of blue. And again, sort of pull down a little bit into this. So what you should be seeing is just a subtle little bit of these dark colors beginning your reflection. Reflections can seem really overwhelming. I'll get a little yellow and brown together. They can seem super overwhelming. They really can. But if you understand the principle of what is there, one, it's what's above is going to show below, colors, lights, things like that. And the direction of things, the brush strokes I like to do are kind of horizontal, but I pull down little vertical lines of reflections. So that's kind of where we're heading to.
Yeah.
I'm going to get a little magenta and purple together over here. It's going to be kind of dramatic. Goes right over that dark area pre-painted quite well. Maybe come into this gray. Subtle. This one's sort of short. Maybe it's an inch long. These are just the subtle little, maybe a little more brown here. So when we put the bright reflections in, it will just aglow. That's what we're going for right now, is what happens when we put those bright reflections in. Okay. That's really all the basis we need for the bottom. So when we put the bright in, it's going to be like a magic trick. This is just the basis of setting up a magic trick. See, Blanton's wanting to do digital art, which I highly recommend. It's a nice way to think, another way to think about construction of your art. It gives you another way to think about layers. It gives you another way to think about color. You know, I think it's really fun. Okay, I am going to take another round brush. I'm going to do this round. This is a number 8 round, obviously smaller than the Cambridge and all of that. It'd be like a number 4 in most other, in like some companies. But you want something that's a little bit smaller that gives you a nice point. You can use a synthetic brush here if that's what you have, but I kind of want to keep the scruffy going, so I'm not going to change. Have we new step?
There it goes.
I'm going to paint the background tree first. Now, my tree is going to really start with my favorite, which is burnt sienna and phthalo green. It's a wonderful dark green. And come up here at the top, and I'm going to make little flicking out little brush strokes. I'm not going to make a ladder of even strokes coming down, incrementally building. Like, you don't want to think of it like Legos, the way you build a tree in Legos. You want to have the randomness that nature is inclined to give you.
Mm-hmm.
Let me skinny the tree.
It's gotta be a plump tree.
It needs to be a plump tree. You bring those little brush strokes around. There's directionality to this, right? We are kind of flicking these down. Sort of how you think you would paint a pine tree, sort of on this one. It's, you know, you're not having to learn to control anything like the way you might have to learn to control a fan brush. I'm just making sure that the parts of my tree have a nice depth of paint. So when I come back and add more bits, there's good shadow. Look at it. I'm going to tip I'm going to tip this just a little bit. See what I'm doing? Sometimes I'll tip it to see it better because when it's flat, it can be hard to see. All right, now I'm going to do a bit of this over here. It's just the basis of some work, right? Just try not to skinny my tree. It's like my grumpy birds.
It must remain
plump, plump. Now in the center, I can be longer with my brush strokes, and I want you to pay some attention to something. When I'm over here on the left, I'm stroking towards the left, and I start to move towards the center, and then I come around and stroke towards the right. It's a fan.
It's a tall shrubbery.
It's a very tall shrubbery. Now it'll get much darker down here because we are going to cast a deep shadow, but this is a good first layer. And this is almost too small of a brush for this big tree, just because it's taking me a good amount of time. But sometimes it's relaxing when you use a smaller brush. But you're just wanting to get this first layer on. Almost like the underpainting of the tree before we get into all the wonderful colors. Which is very playful and fun. You can see I can be kind of loose here because I have that blue underneath and it keeps it from being a white canvas showing through. Now my last thing before I get through here is I'm going to take a little blue and green, add a little bit of white to that, and it's going to give me kind of a little teal. And come between those trees with that little bit of teal. So I can kind of see where that is. All right, dry it and come back and we'll start putting the flash and the smash on the tree.
Gotta just give it a quick dry so and you may even get to see the sheen change here, which is kind of cool. And that's just that as the water leaves the polymer, it kind of gets, it changes its reflective nature and gets more matte and less glossy, which is kind of cool. And so that's what you're seeing happening. It's a good indicator that it is dry when it is all a uniform color. Now, actually, that's an interesting thing. Not all paints have the same sheen in their finish. You can get like different sheen paints. And if you have different sheens, like different reflectivity in there, and the paint is not the same, that's where you can use, and you don't need to use, but you can use a varnish to unify that sheen.
How are we doing?
Good. And this is step. You ready for step?
Yeah, I'm ready for step.
Whoop, hold on. Man, it didn't push. There it goes.
Okay, so for you guys, right now your painting should feel quite dark. You will be able to see the differences to your eye when you're live with your painting from the background to the trees. It's a good time to look at everything and be like, do I like how it is? Do I like my clouds? Do I like everything? Because there's things that are very changeable at this stage. Now, I'm going to continue on, however, but it's going to get playful now. Because I get to make all the crazy little mixes that are going to make my fun tree. And the first little grouping I'm going to go through are my turquoise mixes, which are phthalo blue and phthalo green together. I'm going to come over here and add a few little brush strokes out towards the right. And kind of define some of these little branches. Maybe in the middle a little. Some over here on the left. Some thought. I can always add a little more white into it. Just a little pop of bright on there. Little smaller strokes up at the top, just so you know. And a little dot there. These are little kisses. Little kisses, guys. It can be more green as I come over on this side. See, I went into the more green. More blue as I come over on this side. Here we go. Now I'm going to take a little more of my green here and a little bit yellow and get some white into it. A little bit of white and yellow and kind of make that little abstracted light right there. Come right there. Isn't that good?
It's really fantastic.
A pop right there. We're dancing it around. It's just fun. Dance, 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 dance. I got a little green and yellow there and I just went at it. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Now we've got some of this over here. So let's break that up and I'll show you how to do it on that tree because we're sort of really thinking about our placement. So we'll call it a step and we'll come over and we'll get our turquoise over here. Right. So our turquoise is our phthalo blue and phthalo green and a little bit of white. And we're just coming and dancing a few branches, right? Because if I have this color here, I'm going to want some of it over here. No matter how abstractly I decide to paint my trees, I do want whatever I'm playing with on one side to have some other place in the canvas. Otherwise, it'll just stand out. If I had some weird color I used nowhere else, that's all your eye would see. Great when you mean to do it, kind of a bummer when you don't. A little bit more yellow green there, and you can see I'm just playing with it. Maybe a kiss of that. Might get a little more green in there and a little more white. Get a little more yellow white in there and get some kind of pops of this sort of weird kind of yellow-green turquoise. Just flinging that out a bit. Doesn't that look good? So we're getting some of those fun highlights. I'm going to rinse this brush out. I'm going to dry it off. Right? Drying it off. You guys are doing so good. This is wonderful. Let's come back and take a little bit of our phthalo green and burnt sienna again. And make sure that we have some nice shadows right here. Did we step?
No, not yet.
Okay,
You wanna go
then
ahead and
we'll, no, okay, this is okay here.
I wasn't sure if you said.
I meant to say step and I didn't, but it's all right.
That's all right.
We're just making sure that we've got good shadow, good everything here. I'm just making sure. It's really about the contrast. Okay, let's step it.
All right.
Oh, Judy's like, I'm at work, but I got the sound off. Tell Judy we say hi. Okay, so did we put up a step? All right, we're going to continue on with this green and brown, but we're going to add a little bit of yellow to it. You see the yellow?
Yeah.
Just here in the big tree, these little pops of the green, brown, and yellow. Maybe some over here on the left. Colorful tree. Can't really go wrong. Add a lot more yellow to it and maybe a smidge of white, kind of loosely mixed. Just touching some areas. Back into the green, brown, and yellow. And I'm going to put not as much over here, but I do want some. Right? Back into the green and brown and a little bit of yellow. Just some. A little yellow there. Okay. You loving it?
Yeah.
I'm loving it. So we got to get real playful right now. We're going to take a little bit. Let's do a new step. I don't think you need to dry it. I'm going to take a little bit of my red and yellow together and make some oranges and reds. if you are painting with paint that is so transparent, when you put this over the green, you may need to paint it white, dry it, and then paint the orange over it. That is not uncommon. My paint is made to do this, but not all paint is. It's okay. It's not bad. It's just how some things are sometimes. Get a little more red here. So I'm just going to play through oranges that are more yellow and more red. I'm not going to put it everywhere on the tree. Right? Not everywhere yet. But it's going to be places. And sometimes I can even add a little quin to it, and it's going to just do this crazy awesome sunset effect, which you're going to love. See how I took my orange over to my quin? It was all loosely mixed, and then it just went so amazing. Look at that go. I want to say my trees did not get skinny.
No,
we did it this time, guys.
Good job.
We did a good job keeping our trees fat. I want a fat tree. A little more quin when I want it to be in kind of a darker space, you know. And you can even come over and get a little purple in it if you want to deepen it, and it'll mute it, but not take it out of the colors that it is, if that makes sense. And that's very powerful. It doesn't quite go all the way to brown. You could push it to brown if you wanted it to be some brown, but you don't have to take it all the way to brown. Take a little more red on here, and I might come over here. You're going to have to just play around a bit. Right? You got to find your color. What you'll want to do at home, and this might be harder if you have the sound off and you didn't hear me right now, but what you're going to want to do is use the color like you would use a very strong spice. You don't want it everywhere. You don't want it too strong. You want it strong enough. Look, add magenta in there. That would be great. Okay. Let's call that a step.
You got it.
Okay. I think I'm going to come in with some dark color. I'm going to take my Doc's purple and my phthalo blue and my phthalo green together. It's going to seem like a crazy color mix, but it is a chromatic black. In other words, it's a color that looks like black to the eye without having any black pigment. And I'm going to deepen the area of shadow under the tree. See how I'm darkening it? There are some areas of shadow here that you want as dark as you can make them. And again, it's tempting sometimes to use black, but I think chromatically sometimes it's fun to use a color that's as dark as the black, but isn't black. And all I'm doing is just making sure that some of my branches and some of my stuff is dark enough. You can see where it glazes over, it doesn't take the color away. Okay, I want to dry everything. We're going to dry everything.
Okay.
We don't have that much left, guys.
It's looking super good.
It's going to come together really fast.
And it really does. Oh, thank you guys for all the... Thank you so much for all the super chats. Oh, I see you in that. Jesus heart you. Thank you so much. I appreciate the super chat. Oh, then we appreciate it. You guys, you really do bring a lot of joy to our lives too. It's super wonderful. I can't tell you how wonderful it is to be able to come here and hang out on a Thursday afternoon.
Thank you.
Around 400 of your closest art buddies to paint in a room.
Having a good time.
I think it is probably some of the coolest things in my life. So thank you guys for being a part of that.
I also love it and agree.
Is this Step thing?
This is
Do we need to
Step.
step
We're
down?
going to take a little yellow and red and we're going to make a bright orange. Little yellow and red, bright orange. Same number 8 round brush, whatever round you're using. But we're going to start with a little bit of bright yellow and orange. And I'm going to add some little dots. Just the orange at first. And you'll notice I'm not trying to make neat, perfect circles. I want them to be kind of out of focus, don't I? This is you beginning to light the Christmas tree. You're beginning to light the tree. Come over here and light the tree. Again, just the start of an orange. And what are we doing if our paint isn't covering? We're going to paint it white, dry it, and then paint it this color. That's all we're doing. I'm going to make this one just a lot more kind of bright right here. Just that whole branch. Okay, now around the tree, I'm going to get a lot more yellow into my mix. I'm going to brighten some of these oranges and these yellows. See how we're doing? Just so the tree's more colorful. These are not the same as the little dots we put in. These are little pops of color that are just richer. Go ahead and just get some white on my brush right here. It's okay if it gets into the green. These are little areas that are very bright. This could almost like imply snow. I can get into purple if I want to mute it. See how I did? Just little areas that might be, well, just unexpected. Let's get into some white here. I haven't rinsed my brush though, so it won't ever read as just pure white. These are they're just little moments that we want to have in our tree. I'm going to rinse out. I'm going to go ahead and get a little cad red and quinacridone magenta together. And if you'll remember, they make quite a stunning color. I'll put them in a few places. The layering makes a difference, doesn't it? You can see I kind of come in and I tuck color in here and there. Don't forget to tuck in your color. I rinsed out and dried off. I'm going to get a little yellow. Come add just a little yellow to a couple places. Maybe in the center of those oranges, just a little yellow. We like a little yellow, don't we? Not taking away the orange, I'm just adding a little yellow into it. You still see the orange. Okie dokie. Let's dry that. We're almost done.
Absolutely. So, we're getting so close to this. So nice to see all you guys over there in chat. Thanks for coming and chatting with us. Nice to see you guys chatting over there. I can't say that enough. Super, super wonderful. Oh, don't forget, check out our website, theartsherpa.com. You can add the W's in front of that. It's totally optional. They're there if you like them. We got a new store coming. It's pretty cool. It's just around the corner. And you can find more about it on our website.
Look at them go.
Look at them go. You need a
Look at them go.
Ready?
Yes. Okay, on step 13, I'm going to grab a number 4 round, synthetic. I just want a sharper point. You could use a dotting tool here. You could use a small liner here. You just want something that gives you some control. And I'm going to grab some of my white into this brush. And I'm going to add little pops of white to light the bulbs. A little white hot center is not big. Wherever you're saying that there's a bulb, you'll want to have a white hot center. There we go. Don't those just glow? It's the trick. Putting those bright lights. Where do they go? Putting them around. Oh, I like that. I like that. That's a good amount of glow. That's a very good amount of glow. Don't you feel proud of your glow?
I do.
Okay, let's call that a step, and we're going to come back with this lovely brush again. I just want a slightly bigger round. And let's begin putting some little reflections down. And I'm going to begin by taking my red and yellow again. And just do a downward streak like that. A little orange, you know, come down under here. So if I want to mute the orange a bit, I just put a little purple in my orange, right? And it's going to mute it a bit. It'll read as those sort of diminished glows that are darker. Does that make sense?
It does.
You can even get little cad red in. Maybe back into that yellow. So some of these are not as bright as other colors. That's what the purple is for. When you need it to be there, but not maybe as bright. Okay, that's pretty good. Rinse out thoroughly. Dry off your brush. And dry off my brush. I'm going to get a little bit of my yellow and a nice amount of my purple. Pretty dark. And smidge it with some white. Smidge. I'm not doing a ladder, right? I'm spacing these things out. These little verticals, I'm spacing out. They're subtle, but they matter. Rinsing out. And I'm definitely going to want to go into my phthalo green and phthalo blue with a little bit of white. Even maybe more green on this one so the reflection is better. A little bit right there. So we're just picking up little colors that we have on the surface. Right? If I go here into my phthalo blue and burnt sienna, a little bit of that dark green can start to come in from the sky and the trees. Go over here, add a little green and yellow. It makes a muted. And I want to make sure that under my tree is dark. So I'm going to come back into my blue, my phthalo blue and purple. I'm going to make sure that I bring some dark reflections in between. See how I'm darkening some of these reflections? I'm keeping the value dark. Not making ladders. I'll rinse that out. It's doing so good. Rinse, 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 rinse. Rinse, 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 rinse. I'm going to go ahead and get a little yellow and red again. I'm going to come here and just add maybe a slightly brighter reflection there. I just want to this time. Oh, there they are. They're just nice now. Okay. Come in and I've sort of really dried out my brush and I'm getting a little yellow and white. I'm going to come across horizontally in the center of some of these. Little yellow and white. Just on the toe. Kind of tapping in a little bit of a brighter reflection. Do you guys love that?
I really do.
I love this so much. It's just a gentle touch, guys. Sometimes you got to learn a gentle touch. Just a little bit here and there, not as big over here. Guess what? Signing time.
Wow, that came together so good.
It came together good. It came together in a nice short amount of time. I think we did wonderful.
I think you did wonderful.
Things that you could do. You could add stars to these trees. You could add more snow to the trees. You could, flick some snow out there. You could change your clouds up. You can do anything you want. It is your painting. And this is one of those paintings that you can play with a little bit, and I don't want you to be afraid to play with. Actually, I'm not going to sign yet. I see some stuff I want.
Oh.
Yep.
Do you need another step?
I need another step, and then I'm going to sign.
All right.
Here's why. I'm looking at it, and I want some areas that are brighter, like I had in the original, and they're not as bright as I want, so I'm going to come brighten them up. I'm going to take a little bit of my yellow over to my green. And I'm going to make sure that this is just a brighter bit of green there. I know that's fussy, but it's getting to me. And sometimes stuff will get to me like that, and I'll be like, oh, man, I want to... Oh, yeah, see, I care. That stuff gets to me. I think I did this in the original, too. I'm so weird. I was like, but wait! And maybe brighten up some of this orange again. Yeah, I'm happy. I just wanted it a little brighter than I had it there. Get a little turquoise, some white here, and just make sure that that is a little bit lighter too. Okay, now I'm ready to sign it. Now I'm fine. Sometimes you got to do that. You got to look and you got to be like, do I love it? Is it there? And if it's not, you just got to be like, I admit it, it's not there. I wanted it to be there, but I got to do more fussing. And that's okay too. I'm going to take my white into my turquoise. Might add a little brown to it. So it's bright enough to see in the background, but I don't want it to be a color that overwhelms the whole painting. And drop a little signature on that sucker. Whatever it is, wherever you are. Woo! That was fun, guys. Did you love it? I hope you loved it. It looks like you loved it. Now, this Saturday, we're doing a nice cardinal. It's just a winter painting. It doesn't really have any holiday connotation to it. It's just a pretty happy winter cardinal. And so if you're looking for something like that to do, he's going to be a lot of fun. We're really going to work on the eye and the nice contrast. He's going to look great in the house. Go with all those poinsettias that you might have and those red bows if you do. But and if you like birds, I love me some birds. I paint me some birds. So he's going to be a good, fun one to do. And then we will be having Thanksgiving, of course. I'm going to try to drop something over Thanksgiving, something special as a gift to you, just in case the family is a little bit stressful and you need an art break to find your center again in your Mary. Like, so, on your turkey day, if you're like, I need a minute. So that's going to be coming out. And if there's not Thanksgiving, you won't miss your week, but it should be something special. I'm going to try really hard to get it done tomorrow. You guys have been seeing peeks of the landscape as I've been working on it. All right. So everyone is like, What is the difference between signing up for Patreon or signing up on YouTube? Asked Kayla Brown. Okay, so we have a patronage that you sign up directly through our website, and you can set the amount of money to what is your budget on our website. All patrons get all patron things, but we recognize that not everybody has the same billing or same access, so we set one up on YouTube, and YouTube only let us set up one recommended price. So we just set it up there, but if you're more comfortable with YouTube billing and how that system works, it's here for you, but everybody gets it. If you sign up on YouTube, you'll also get Emoji Club because that's included. And if you sign up through the website, while you can set your price, I can't include Emoji Club because they don't talk to each other like that. If you do go on YouTube, be sure to email us so that we can make sure you get your patron dashboard and you can get access to all your stuff, and that you join the Facebook group. But everybody gets in at every level of patron. Because, world is crazy right now. So trying to make sure you have some billing choices in your life. You good, babe?
I'm fantastic.
All right. Guys, be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. And I want to see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.